So how much Rick Simpson oil should I take for my situation? So that's the most common question that I get over here at MyFitLife once someone has decided to take the Rick Simpson oil, which is also known as RSO or FECO, just like this right here. Okay. So I made a chart over a simple chart to make it easy for people to understand, the dosage ranges that are most common in our community, and then what those dosage ranges are taken for and what people have success with. Okay, so let me make this a little bit bigger right here so you can see it better. All right, so on the left-hand side, we have the most common dosage ranges. And the first one is 50 to 100 milligrams. And oh, by the way, the dosages are per day, and they're split into 2 or more doses per day. Okay, so this is not per dose, it's per day. All right, so like the 50 milligrams would be per day, split into 2 doses, 25 milligrams in the morning, 25 milligrams in the evening. The 100 milligram would be per day, so it's 50 milligrams in the morning, 50 milligrams in the evening, and so on. And then as it gets into like higher dosages, let me move this a little bit closer here. As it gets into higher dosages, then it could be split into even more doses just to have more of a flow, throughout the day. So it could be split into 3 doses or even 4 doses throughout the day, depending on how much you're taking. But the most common is twice per day. Okay, so the 50 to 100 milligrams, that's mostly like maintenance, like maintaining status quo, like what I call health maintenance. So for healthy people, and then people that have been able to regain their health through the protocols, and they want to maintain that, right? So about 50% or more, 50-60% of the clients that we have are in this range right here, either because they're trying to stay healthy, or they've regained their health, maybe even through higher dosages, and they're using this as a maintenance dose just to maintain those results so that they do not go backwards. Okay, and what's most common is well, the acronym for it is SPA. So the most common things that it's taken for is sleep, pain, and anxiety, right? People have trouble sleeping, either because they have a condition, or they just have insomnia as a condition itself, or they have like more hardcore conditions like cancer or something and they can't sleep. So they take it for sleep. Pain is a super huge one. And then anxiety is just as huge. So that acronym SPA, sleep, pain, anxiety. And to be more specific, it goes into like, anxiety, stress, depression, panic attacks. And on the other side of that, clarity, confidence, and mental recall, like short-term memory recall. Okay, so it improves all that stuff, and it helps to relieve the anxiety, stress, depression, and panic attacks. It's super awesome, so it just makes you step into who you are, basically, right? You're not the person that has depression, anxiety, stress, all that kind of stuff, or you have stress, but you're able to handle it better. And then, because you have the clarity, confidence, you have the mental recall, all these different things that could actually improve your life. And just as little as 50 to 100 milligrams a day, taken once in the morning, once in the evening, 25 and 25, 50 and 50. Okay, and as we said, that's like maintenance, healthy people that have regained their health. And people that have had like anxiety their whole lives, some of them are in this range right here where they're able to overcome and get off medications, all kinds of stuff. It's really super, super awesome. And all this stuff could happen fairly quickly, except for the confidence. The confidence, it can happen quickly, but it definitely happens over time, and it's a cumulative effect of taking it patiently, persistently, and consistently, day in and day out without missing days. Okay, so this is the Rick Simpson Oil, aka the RSO or FECO. And on our website, it's our full spectrum oil. It is the Rick Simpson Oil, the high CBD version. And then you have to contact us for the high THC version. Okay, so 200 to 400 milligrams, that range. Usually people like there's no 150 in here or anything like that, right? It just usually jumps from 100 to 200. And so 200 to 400 milligrams, that range in there, it's to sort of like can overcome certain conditions. And then it's also maintenance for some people that have more aggressive things going on, than over here. Okay, so it could overcome conditions. This can too a little bit, like anxiety, stress, and stuff like that, but a little bit more of the chronic conditions, it can overcome those. And then some people also use it for maintenance. They don't want to go back down to here because this is what helped them, and they just want to stay there, right? And what's that one is mostly used for is like migraines, chronic pain, like things like arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, where people are like this, and then all of a sudden they have, they could, go like that. Like it's a big deal. Neuropathies, numbness, tingling in your, in your lower limbs, all that kind of stuff. Glaucoma for certain people, that's up on the higher end, like more towards the 400. Cancer for some people, high blood pressure, definitely heart disease, all those inflammatory kind of conditions, etc., are commonly helped with this range right here of 200 to 400 milligrams. Okay, and again, that's taken twice per day, so like 100 milligrams in the morning, 100 milligrams in the evening. Like if you're doing 400 milligrams, you might want to do like 100 milligrams in the morning, 100 milligrams in the afternoon, and 200 at night. Or just do 200 and 200, whichever works, but just don't miss, don't take less. Okay, and then the next range is 600 to 1,000 milligrams or more. Like 1,000 milligrams is a gram, so you go from anywhere from 600 to 1,000 milligrams plus of the Rick Simpson oil, either the THC or the high CBD version, and it's the same dosage amounts for either or. Okay, just the high CBD version is commonly taken during the day, because you don't get high off of it, so you could work and do all kind, operate heavy machinery, all that kind of stuff. And then people take the high THC version at night because it does have slightly different effects, and it also helps people get into deeper sleep sometimes than the other. Okay, just wanted to make that clarity for you. But I call this range right here a macro dose. Okay, so what's the most common with medications, in the American Medical Association, etc., is to take the least or the minimum effective dose, right? The minimum effective dose, because their medications have so many side effects. You want to take as little of it as possible to get the most benefit, the most little amount. But this isn't that, right? This is not medication. It's a nutrient that your body needs and requires. So in order to overcome things, we do like what I call a full frontal assault, through a macro dose of taking more than you normally would take to maintain the condition. So you do a full frontal assault to overcome it, and overcome it quicker than it would happen with taking less. So it may still happen if you take less, but it'll just take longer for it to happen, for you to overcome your certain condition. And but doing the macro dose could make it happen quicker. And then some people just need it. There are what we call outliers, right? And I'm one of them. And outliers, they sort of require more just because of their condition. But once they've been able to overcome, they still need to stay in those higher dosages. Most people are more towards the 600 milligram, but sometimes I have to take 1,000 milligrams or more during a day if there's flare-ups and stuff like that can happen every once in a while, right? So what that is most commonly used for is hardcore or stubborn conditions, and like we said, the outliers. So this is where like the Rick Simpson protocol comes in and all that, where you're ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. I have another video for that, which we'll link to at the end of this video, and on exactly how to take it. It has the protocol there, in full view, and that one goes up into 1,000 milligrams per day for a certain period of time, and then wraps back down. And that is a full frontal assault on hardcore conditions, like things like cancer, etc., glaucoma, and just to kick things into gear. Some people think you don't need that much, right? And it can be helped with less, and it can, right? Sometimes it'll just take longer in some instances, and In some instances, you do need that big amount, and so it's almost on a case by case basis. It's not on a condition by condition basis. Like you have this condition, so you need this much. It's sort of, you have to sort of monitor. You take the smaller amounts first, and you ramp up as needed. And when you get to where you're getting these beneficial effects, then you stop there. You go for a while. If you're macrodosing, you might go up a little bit and then go back down, etc. But there's specific ways to take it, and we help people with that over here. To get on the protocols, etc., on how to go up, go into that macro dose and go back down level into a maintenance dose, and then decide which maintenance dose is good for you. This one, or maybe even this one right here, which is where I'm at, right? So like we said, like Rick Simpson protocol, and then glaucoma, which is what I have, with the hardcore migraines as well, cancer, post-surgery, post-injury. So, like hardcore injury, or got through with some crazy surgery, you just ramp up the stuff, you macro dose it, and it'll help to not to have to take any pain medication, right? So you won't get addicted to opioids, and don't have all this toxic stuff inside of you. You just have beneficial, nutritious, cannabinoids and other flavonoids and terpenes, etc., inside of you, from the Rick Simpson oil, that you're taking, right? So post-surgery, post-injury, and then also hospice, right? So some people, for a variety of reasons, most commonly that we see over here from cancer, like they send people to hospice, or they send people even home, like this to, take care of their, whatever, take care of their affairs. And when they get to a certain point, like they get into so much pain that the morphine drip doesn't work anymore, right? And they just suffer greatly, the days and hours before they die. And this helps to relieve that. That Rick Simpson oil, either one helps, the high CBD or high THC version helps tremendously with that. When the morphine stops working, the Rick Simpson oil continues to work for most people more often than not. They're probably, I'm sure there are some outliers where it won't be the case, but for more often than not, like 70, 80, 90% of people, it will still be working, when the morphine drip stops, if you could believe that, but I see it, I've seen it, dozens and dozens, probably even hundreds and hundreds of times, over the course of my career with cannabis and holistic health. Okay, so again, 50 to 100 milligrams, maintenance, healthy people, regaining health, and want to maintain that situation, do that. And you're doing it twice per day, morning and evening, and split up. So 50 milligrams is 25 and 25, and so on, into 100 milligrams, 50 morning, 50 evening, etc. Then you go into the higher range of 200 to 400 milligrams. That's overcoming certain conditions and maintenance for many people as well that have the chronic conditions, and migraines, chronic pain, neuropathies, glaucoma, high blood pressure, etc. And then there's the 600 to 1,000 milligram, which is, like we said, we're getting up into the Rick Simpson protocol. Macro dosing, doing that full frontal assault to overcome things quicker, and just period, but also quicker, get into a more healthful state, and then go into a maintenance phase afterwards, which could be any one of these dosage ranges. Just depends on who you are, the conditions that you have, and how your body reacts to the high THC or high CBD Rick Simpson oil. Okay, and then how your other dietary factors are, etc., as well. So that's basically it. If you have any other questions, just go ahead and post them in the comments below, and or you could reach us at support@myfitlife.net, or you can send us a text message at 562-528-3090, and all that info will be in the video description, below this video. Again, this is Al Morenton with My Fit Life. Remember, knowledge is power and health is wealth. I hope you have a beautiful day. Peace.